Hello, hello, and 1,000 times hello.
Hello.
This, of course, is PlayStation Education.
Hello.
And we are your one and only near and dear to your dart. Myself, of course, Jamin Bassette, and joined by James Bassette over here.
Hello.
This, unfortunately, is coming to a close. This is actually our last day here in Korea, so we need to hurry up and get some of these conversations going. We will find a way to keep this stuff going in the future. We're already...
Yeah, because all of you really crying over that.
I am. I am. But today we're going to talk about our third part of our four-part conversation talking about The Last of Us. Now, this is going to be talking about the game world, plus talking about the third season, which is Winter. Now, last we saw Joel, he was in pretty bad shape, wasn't he?
He got impaled. Fell off the horse, presumably. Is he dead? We don't know.
Mm-hmm. So fast forwards to Winter, probably a couple months later, or at least a month later. Snow's covering the ground, and you're not playing as Joel.
Well, duh, he's got impaled.
Who are you playing as?
I'm playing some random person you never meet before at all. No, I'm playing as Little Miss Paige.
There you go, Ellie. Ellie is, before, she wasn't allowed to hold a gun, and she wanted the bow and was allowed to hold the bow. Now she's the only one left to use the bow and use the gun.
Yep. It starts, you're going, actually this is probably the world and the graphics kind of is expressed perfectly for me is the beginning of Winter when, out of the snow comes a little bunny, just pushes through, jumps out, hops a little bit, shakes off the snow. I'm like, wow, this looks like real life. Air comes and kills it. I'm like, whoo, this is like real life. She ties the bunny up to the horse and makes a comment that I'm gonna need more food than this. And she's a deer, prancing through the forest. So she chases it down. You actually shoot it like 2 or 3 times to actually kill the stupid thing, and it ends up crawling into a little deserted. Now it's not quite a town. There's like a barn, a couple houses. Yeah. So there's a little area. She's very paranoid. She hears something. She pulls the bow out. There's 2 guys named David and James. Cool name, kind of a douche of a character. Now, they have guns, but she has the bow on them, so they put down the guns. They're clearly David, the older gentleman, is clearly trying to make friends with Ellie. He's trying to explain, no, we aren't going to hurt you. We have a big group and we need lots of food. And she explains, yeah, well, I need food too. He's like, well, maybe we could trade. Do you need anything? And of course, she screams medicine real quick. So you presume, okay, so Joel is not dead, but pretty bad shape, exactly. So she needs antibiotics. Yes. So they agreed. The older gentleman sent James, the younger guy, back to get some penicillin and so on. He doesn't like that idea, but he can get the call.
Yes.
So
David's clearly in charge.
Yes. They end up dragging the deer inside what's left of that barn and start a fire. Just to try to keep warm while they're waiting for him. And they get attacked by the infected, runners and clickers alike.
Yes.
You actually take his rifle, obviously, and you find out he had a pistol on him. So part of you is like, oh, well, I guess he could have killed me at any time then.
So you're slowly starting to come around to this guy.
Yes. And you fight them off for a little bit. You save each other's lives a couple times, and then you go deeper into the barn. You keep going. You have to fight a crap load of them, a bloater showing up.
Yes. You know how much I like them bloaters.
It takes the video game concept of they're fat. They must take 1 billion shots to kill. Yes, they're like clickers, but they've been... You start as a runner, obviously. You become a clicker once you've had it so long and the fungus starts growing out of your face. And the bloater is when you got it so long that you're really just...
It's covered.
You're just this giant, like, infected spore blob. It takes forever to kill. And once you survive all that, you go down, you check everything, the deer's still there, you're good. He starts talking to you, and he says he believes everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And he starts talking about how he sent a group to go look for food in a nearby city, and how only a very handful of them came back, and how they explained that an old man with a young girl killed all of them. Ellie obviously knows that it was them, because you remember at the end of fall how Joel got impaled, was because they got into a fight with this group. And she freaks out. She grabs the gun real quick, and he expresses, "No, don't worry. I know it's not your fault." And you hear him say, "James, put the gun down." So he turns around, and out the gun on her, And he's arguing again. He's like, no, just put the gun down. And they end up making the trade. They take the deer. She took the penicillin. David offered her a chance to come back with him, but she refused. Goes back to her horse and rides away. She goes in the basement, injects Joel with the penicillin and everything. He's definitely looking worse for wear.
Yes.
Can't really even talk right at this point, but then again, he is freezing.
Well, okay, that's kind of put a little pin in this. When we were playing The Walking Dead, I talked about how the artist did a real good job of making the one girl in episode 1 look really sickly.
Yeah.
Like, looking at her like, wow, she looks really, really sick.
Even with the comic book effect, yeah.
Yeah. Here, this game, I've never seen someone look like just more ghastly in a video game than Joel.
Besides Ghastly from Pokemon. Please stop.
So carry on.
Anyway, so she falls asleep. She wakes up, looks out the window, and realizes there's a whole group of them there.
Yeah,
she goes,
following her.
Crap, they followed me. And you hear them over, are you sure, this is the place? Like, look, there's horse tracks. We know it's here. We're going to find her. We're going to kill her. But, what David said, I don't care what David said. This is the girl who took out half, these are the two that took out half our, group. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that. It was her. Screw David. We're going to kill this girl. Again, censored myself. So you play as Ellie again. You have to sneak away from where Joel's at so they don't find him because there's only Joel can defend himself. And you have to just try to get out of the area. You have to kill a crap load of them. And eventually, after sneaking around forever, after killing a crap load, you get grabbed by David, who doesn't kill you, but puts you in a sleeper hold to knock you out so you can take you back. You find out she wakes up, she's kind of like in a cell thing.
Mm-hmm. A little prison cell.
Yeah, a little prison. And David's trying to make nice. And, but it's kind of hard to when you wake up and you see a whole bunch of corpses being cut up.
Turns out this group of hunters are, I would argue, a little darker than the previous group of hunters you've run into. The other group of hunters, you remember this was, this is still chapter 1, I guess. This is before you met Bill. No, it was right after you met Bill. It's because this is when you had the truck. Whenever you got plowed into.
Yeah.
You go in there and you find the hunter's hideout and just find stacks and stacks of dead bodies of people they just murdered and looted. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is gross. These people are detestable. Well, you just found out what happens when people like that just go a shade darker.
Either way, he offers her food. She looks at it, doesn't want it, and he says, don't worry, it's just deer meat, I promise. So she eats a little bit of it. He keeps making comments. For the entire time she's been trying to get her name, even back when they first met, and she refuses to give it to him. And she ends up, shoving the food back at him. He's explaining, you don't understand that you're making this extremely hard for me to keep you alive. They want you dead. I'm trying to keep you alive. Yep. And, her hands are on the bar, and so he puts his hand on top of her hand and says, because you're special. And she kind of does the whole, oh, I'm an innocent girl, and then breaks his finger.
That's Ellie in a nutshell.
But as he's breaking his finger, he jams her face into the prison, or the door for a while, so her nose is bleeding now. And as he's walking away screaming at her, he goes, she's like, it's Ellie. He's like, what? You can tell them that the girl who broke your finger, his name is Ellie. And he kind of screams at him. And so he makes kind of a comment about tiny little pieces.
Yeah. Well, what'd you say? Tiny little pieces.
And then leaves.
Great voice work, by the way. For those of you at home who are big Uncharted fans, the guy who plays David and is
creepy old man,
amazingly creepy, disturbing voice is none other than Nolan North, the guy who plays Nathan Drake in the Uncharted games. He also might know him as Deadpool from the cartoon. He plays the voice of Deadpool.
That guy's awesome.
He's pretty awesome.
Anyways, then you go back to Joel. Joel wakes up. He's still obviously feeling the pain. He grabs his bag. It's got a few supplies, and you have to go kill some of the stragglers that are still there in the area and try to find Ellie. You end up capturing 2 guys, torturing them both. The one guy gives you the information you need, and then you break his neck. Go to the other guy, and the guy's like, what the heck, man? He told you everything you wanted. I'm going to tell you nothing. He's like, good. You don't have to. I believe him. Bashes his head in with a pipe. She's like, oh, well, Joel's quite brutal. There's been some very brutal moments throughout the game, and that one's just one of them. Joel's on his way. Then you go back as Ellie. They open the door. They grab her. Both James and David throw her on the table. He's telling her, "Hey, this is Your own fault. I tried. Yeah. And she actually bites his hand. And right before they kill her, she screams, "I'm infected." And now you are too.
Just bit you.
Just bit him. And she said, "Roll up my sleeve, check." And they see the bite that she has, which obviously is super old because she's for some reason immune. Is the reason why you're even in this position.
It's been like almost 9 months at this point since she was infected. And remember, it's supposed to turn you within 48 hours.
Yeah. And so James like, "What's going on?" David, it's like, "No, this can't be real. She would have turned by now." And of course, James, "That looks plenty real to me." So in the confusion, she's actually able to grab the knife that they were ready to cut her up with and kill James. I was kidding. The guy's a douche. He had an awesome name. He was a douche. Anyways, and she's able to get away from David, who's taking shots at her. She finds her little knife, the little switchblade thing that she's had since the beginning, takes that, and he's shooting at you. And so you have to get away, and you have to go into this blizzard, which obviously helps you, because all you have is a knife.
And it's impressive. Like, you feel like you're stuck in the middle of a blizzard. You can't see anything. Walking around is hard, and you're groping around trying to find things, and it's intense.
Yeah, and they have better vision than you do. Like, obviously, you can get away from them rather easily, because once they start shooting you, if you just sprint and you don't get shot too many times, you die. Which happened to me a couple times. If you hide behind something and you're running for a certain distance, they can't see you anymore, so you don't know where to look. So that's a plus, but at the same time, it's just so annoying. Eventually, I was able to sneak up and kill like 2 or 3 people without anyone seeing me, taking all their guns and their ammo. Well, only the one had a gun, the other ones didn't even have ammo. Screw them. So I had like 1 shot in the blade. I'm like, okay, let's make this count. It was pretty intense.
Yes. Throwing bricks like you wouldn't believe.
Yes.
Heads up, a-hole.
You lots of bottles, lots of bricks to pick up and just either throw at them or just throw in an area so they go there so you can sneak past them. You go into like this restaurant and there's broken plates all over the place. Every time you step on it, it makes a cracking noise. I'm like, whoop. Crap. Wait, stand up. There's no one here. Oh, okay. Keep walking, and David shows up. And makes a comment about you being easy to track and about to kill you. You're able to get away again. And he starts laughing. He locks the door and starts to burn down the building.
Now this is the only, unless you count like the first bloater fight, I guess. This is the only real like boss fight that the game really has. It's probably my favorite set piece. We're talking in the Uncharted's. We always have that point where what's your favorite set piece? This fight is my favorite set piece of the game by far. Holy moly! Reminds me a lot of. Did you ever play Metal Gear Solid 3? Snake Eater. There's this fight with a guy called The End. And it's a fight that can take as few as 1 minute, as long as an hour, depending on how good you are at sniper battles. He's sneaking around, he's camouflaged, and you have tools like, ways to hear movement and ways to detect heat and stuff like that. And so you guys just basically going back and forth. You try to get in a position where you can take a shot where he can't see you and vice versa. And it's just this really intense boss battle. I've never played anything like it until this game. This boss fight with David is insanely tense. Everything you've been using to sneak up and kill guys before, he can do that now. He can hear, he can sneak. When he's not moving, he's crouched behind something. You can't see him using your detect mode because that works off a sound. Oh wow, it was. Now you played it on a slightly easier difficulty than me.
Yeah,
so you got through. You got through it a little easier than I did, but it still looked pretty intense.
Yeah. Not only was it still intense, but he's all like, "I played difficulty harder. It was way more intense." Nah, I'm just better at it than he is.
Whatevs.
No, I'm playing it perfect. I'm always behind something. I go up, I throw something real quick, duck back down. I always hit that same pillar. He walks up to the pillar, gives me enough time to stab him. You stab him once, he throws you off.
And brings out a machete.
And now he's still looking for you. I did literally the exact same thing. Hit Brian the exact same booth, threw something at the exact same pillar, stabbed him again. And this is when he starts to really creep me out. He ducks down. He has his machete. He stops, he does that listening thing against the wall so you can hear. So if you're moving, he knows where you're at now. It's not just, if you step on a plate, he hears you. No, it's if you move. So I have to sit there and be really still and check every now and then to make sure he's still there. Because the one time I waited too long, I checked, and he ended up being right around the corner, and I had to book it.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh,
yeah, he heard me, obviously, but I got away. But, oh my gosh, it scared me. So eventually, you jump, you stab him again, he turns, you both fall, and it cuts back to Joel.
Yes.
It's like, they're in a burning building. I don't know if either of them are alive or dead. Fun stuff. So now, as Joel, you have to run through all this blizzard and go with all the stuff you just did with Ellie. But as Joel, who's obviously wounded, so you can't go nearly as fast.
Yeah.
You have to go kill these guys, and you go and you see the burning building.
Yes.
And then it cuts back to Ellie, who gets up first. The guy's just laying there. She looks over. She's a gun underneath the.
A machete.
There's a machete. You're right. The machete. My bad. There's a handle. And I don't know why I thought God. But anyway, she machete. She starts crawling towards it. And she gets kicked in the face by Joel. No, I'm just kidding. David.
Twist.
David obviously got up and starts making comments about you can give up now. You know, there's no shame in giving up when you know you're lost. And she keeps crawling, and he ends up kicking her again in the stomach, rolls her over, starts yelling at her, saying all this crap, and he says, "I think it's hilarious how you think you're somehow better than the rest of us. I mean, how many people you've killed and blah blah blah." She grabs a machete and starts stabbing the dude.
Just like.
She ends up grabbing it, stabbing him, which makes him turn. She flips on top of him and then just goes at it. Like, pretty much, I'm pretty sure he stabbed his face like 20 times. And just keeps going, blood everywhere, all over. And then Joel comes in screaming, "You stop, you're done."
And it has one of those moments where, like, it was having the big adrenaline rush, when it just seems like you can't hear anything, just kind of super focused. It kind of has that for Ellie. And it's just like this. It's a really, really, really powerful scene.
Yeah, she just hears a muffle of Joel's voice, sitting there with just blood all over her, looking at David and everything. He ends up, hugging her and calling her baby girl and all that stuff. And it's like, oh, this is such a creepy moment. And the camera.
He's really superimposed Sarah onto Ellie at this point.
Yes,
definitely.
He sees Sarah very, very much so in Ellie. They start walking away, and the camera starts going down, and you see the machete covered in blood. It's slowly going closer and closer, and then it cuts away. I'm like, oh, thank God. I did not want to see that dude's face.
Yes. So that's the end of Winter. Like I said, it's probably the most brutal of the chapters. Holy moly.
Gameplay-wise, BJ plays Ellie 90% of the time. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
although my personal... I don't know, it was... Yeah, the fight with David is kind of just like... It was pretty intense. The cannibalism,
yeah, I feel about that stuff.
Yeah, same here.
So, real quick little insight here. There's an interview of Nolan North talking about his role as David up on IGN. This came out not too long after the game. They recorded before the game came out, but they posted it after the game came out.
Yeah.
To avoid spoilers and all that. He makes certain comments which implies that at least when he did the voiceover recording, David's character was going to be slightly different. I guess they changed it because I already figured it was dark enough as it is. Did you notice, like James already put it out there, this particular group of hunters was cannibals. Did you notice when you walked into the meat locker, there wasn't any women? It was just male bodies.
Yeah.
Supposedly what this group was doing is it was capturing men and using them as meat, and capturing women and using them to procreate, and that's why they didn't want to kill Ellie. And that's why he wanted to show the others that you can be one of us. So maybe they talked about, like, getting the kids to safety. That's where those kids came from. Yeah. So in his mind, David thought that he was going to help repopulate the planet. Yeah. I think at some time when they were putting this together, like, okay, we already got cannibals, we already got kidnapping and beating up little 14-year-old girls. I don't think we can add this to the list of this guy's crimes. People are already going to hate him enough as it is and be like, oh man, this guy's slimy. Oh man, oof. Dark stuff, man.
Yeah, okay, cool. I won't sleep on the plane ride home. I don't want to anyways. It's only 14 hours.
It's the post-apocalypse, man. Things get crazy in the post-apocalypse.
Yeah, it does.
I would say era history.
No.
Well, actually, we did way worse stuff in history than we do in our own fictionalized version of.
Well, even if it wasn't worse, it would seem worse because it's real life.
Yeah.
Even if it's just that, just the exact same thing, cannibalism and kidnapping and beating. Without that last part,
yeah,
it would be 10 times worse, even if the game had that last part, because it's real life, because we know it's real, because it did happen, because it's happening, which it kind of is.
Yeah. Anyways, so like we did with the other ones, of course, last time we talked about mechanics. This time we're going to talk about world. Now, as we put up before, I am a big story first, World second, mechanics third. And again, that's nothing against mechanics. Obviously, gameplay mechanics are super important. I just put story and world above them.
And obviously, world's my big thing.
World is James's big thing. So I'm very curious. How do you feel about this?
I really did like it, like a lot. I mean, I think it's just the graphics and the way they did everything. It added to it, like the mechanics added to the world. The story definitely added to the world.
This is a 7-year-old machine, and they're busting out stuff like this. Holy moly!
Can't wait for the PS4. Anyways, it's just the world was amazing. It, like again, like I said, I think everything seemed to speak volumes after knowing the story. Of course,
Yep.
the story, as I said, the mechanics obviously add to it. The story really adds to the world.
And we'll talk about story in a little more detail on our next installment. In this case, what are some particular touches that you think really brings out this world?
Just like when you go into like a city, how it's completely run down, how it's ruined, how there's parts that are broken, how like this violence growing up on everything, and then how you're like in the woods, and how it seems barely touched. Like that's exactly how it would be, obviously, because I think the forest would survive a little bit better than, say, a town of people. But yeah, it's amazing how well it's done. It's amazing how it looks. It's amazing how you can just go between each of them like that, and it's pretty freaking amazing.
I believe it. Something I really liked is the optional conversations. There's lots of little times where if you just stand at a certain place long enough, or you talk to Ellie, or you press triangle next to the right thing, you just kind of spark up a conversation with Ellie, and those are some of my favorite world building moments.
Well, yeah, like the one we passed by a billboard that had an airplane on it.
Yep.
You have the option to talk to Ellie, and she talks about how she had a dream about being on an airplane. And how everyone's freaking out because they're crashing. And so she runs to the cockpit really quickly. And there's no pilots, none. So she tries to fly it. Obviously, she doesn't know how to fly a plane. And she always wakes up right before it crashes. And just random things like that. Just a random conversation about a random dream she had.
And it's so weird. 'Cause, like, of course, she's only 14. It's been 20 years since it happened. She's never been on a plane. So she just has dreams about how she thinks planes would work based upon pictures she's seen. And that's just like a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
Or the one part where she found the diary.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. So, like, really little things like that just really add to the world to me. But world
Or
for
like,
me.
you don't even get you don't necessarily need the option. If you're far enough away from her, you don't have to hear this. But if you're close enough, she'll just start to whistle. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "What the heck are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to whistle." You don't know how to whistle? No. Oh. And then later in the game,
She starts to get really good at it.
she starts whistling. She's like, "Hey, I did it!" And later in the game, she does it really well.
All the time. Just little things like that. It's so great. And you have to think of all the time and effort the programmers and the storyboards and all that put into making those little moments. And these, like James said, these are all optional moments. You don't have to hear or see any of this stuff. It's great. Oh, I love it. And the notes. Like every single note in this game, obviously you can see like a little text version because some of the notes are handwritten. All the notes in this game were made at one point by somebody real because it's all handwriting and stuff. And it's just really fascinating the time and effort they put into these.
Oh my gosh, it is. And
And all the little side stories you can find if you just look hard enough, like Ish.
Oh my gosh.
The whole Ish story. You could literally go through the game and never see that whatsoever if you just weren't picking up the notes and weren't looking at them, weren't reading them. One quick little world building moment. I missed this. I had to have someone else tell me this. Did you ever look in your backpack whenever you were Ellie? Like your list of items?
No.
She has the robot, of course. She kept that. And she also has a letter from her mom. A goodbye letter.
Aww.
So just like little touches like that. Of course Ellie would keep that. Of course Ellie would have that. But in your mind, oh, I'm just playing this game. I just assume that she has everything that Joel has. Because that's the way video games work, right? Well, no, not in The Last of Us. Those, like, when I saw that, or like when I heard that, then went back and saw it, I was like, that's so cool. That is what builds worlds. I think that's something you can't do, at least not nearly as well on, say your Sega Genesis or something. That's something technology has really afforded us, is the ability to make these really amazing worlds.
That's pretty crazy.
So, do you have anything else? Anything else to add?
The game's awesome.
The game is awesome. We got one more to go. One more to go before the end.
Springtime.
That's
with Hitler.
And Germany. All right, so I'll talk to you guys later. Love you. Bye.
Stab you in the face.